So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And I've talked about this before, the idea that your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. And I think that this is really on display if you look at the response to the coronavirus by two different countries. In the US, there's personal freedom, freedom of speech. Everybody has rights that cannot be taken away, mostly, especially if you're in the majority. As a result of that, ideas can flow freely. It is more difficult for something to, for the country, I suppose, to go in a completely horrible direction because there's so many different people who might have a say and try to convince people as to, with all those voices talking in different directions, things move a lot slower. Then you look at China, and China, people definitely don't have as much freedom. There's capitalism there. People own stuff more than during the communist era. But basically you have to do what you're told, especially, if you're not a member of the Communist Party. And even if you are, you still, maybe you might be paid attention to a little bit more, but not in any way compared to the US. And it's easy for things to go really bad because, there's a couple of people at the top, they make a decision, like in Mao and how the Chinese government would have caused famines in China in the past. But you can see that your greatest strength can be your greatest weakness in, both of those instances. So when it comes to the coronavirus and COVID and the infection passing from one person to the other, China's weakness, the idea that one person is in charge and people that don't have the freedoms that they have in the US, that weakness ends up being a strength because the government can shut down an area and basically eradicate the virus from the country. I mean, yeah, it did that as well in South Korea and Taiwan and maybe Singapore as well. But I think even, China had it done. They had, at least according to the numbers that they give, it's done. In South Korea, there's still, sparks here and there. I don't know about Taiwan, but Vietnam basically had no deaths. And Vietnam is not in any way a place where you exercise your freedom of speech. Whereas in the US, everybody has an opinion. Everybody can spout their fake news, any fake news that they feel like, that they've become privy to. And basically before the virus has been eradicated in the US is opening back up. And true to form, the number of cases is, ticking up bit by bit. We really don't know what this is going to end up being like. In China, there's no worry. You don't have to worry about catching coronavirus in China at the moment, at least according to their official statistics. And it's really hard to lie about it. Yeah, that's the difference. And something that I wanted to talk about is that I think because of the Dunning-Kruger effect and because of freedom of speech, which is supposed to be in many modern countries one of the greatest strengths that they have, I think that could be the running problem that free societies have. When things go wrong in that respect, they can go really wrong. I mean, we can see it with respect to vaccines, right? The Dunning-Kruger effect is basically, if you know nothing about a particular field, the more that you know, the more confident you tend to become in your ability to understand the field in your head. Unfortunately, you get, or fortunately, I think maybe that's fortunately, you get to a point where you realize, whoops, that confidence that I gained from the little that I got to know about the field was really unwarranted. I don't know most of this stuff. And between that peak of feeling like you understand what's going on and the other peak where you really do legitimately have an understanding of what is going on, there's a huge trough where you gain some respect for what you don't know. The problem is that in many instances, well, not in many instances, that's the effect. The people who know the least and the people who know the most feel the most confident about what they have to say about some idea in a particular field. And when you couple that with freedom of speech and the confidence of not knowing very much about a field, and, well, it can't be a bad thing to knowing a lot about a particular field. I think when you couple those two things, you have a really difficult time in the making. So I think that I feel that you can see the Dunning-Kruger effect when it comes to vaccines and modern medicine. There are people, most of us think that we understand how modern medicine works. We think that we have a grasp as to how it works. Unfortunately, that grasp makes us feel that GMOs, they're bad, they're new, there's problems. For some of us, vaccines, they're really not that good for you at all. Or chemotherapy, and that's not really that good for you. And I really think we probably don't know enough. I know people who think that if you consume a particular type of substance, you can clean your blood from that. Your blood can be filtered. I don't know how they think it works. Actually, they don't have the slightest clue. They just know that it works. They have no idea. When it comes to vaccines, they have no idea what's really wrong with vaccines. They come up with reasons, but they don't really have a mechanism. They could never tell you, well, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They just know. This is something that they know, along with the very, very basics of whatever it is that they're trying to talk about. Of course, the problem is they are just as confident in what they're saying as experts. And everybody has the right to give their opinion, no matter how dumb it is. And there are probably a lot more people who peak in their knowledge about any given subject than there are experts. I mean, that's just how it is. Fewer people are going to finish something than start it. But all of those people, regardless of the field, get to talk about what they think. And the more that I think about, the more that I'm thinking, whoa, is this not the existential threat, the real one that we face? That regardless of the field and regardless of the person, you might have somebody who is a climate scientist. They know everything about climate science, right? So they're an expert, a legitimate expert in that field. But they don't know anything about vaccine. And this climate scientist who can speak very eloquently with respect to climate science and tell us that we need to change might be somebody who thinks that vaccines hurt people. People are good in their field, not in every field, in their field. And somebody who is a legitimate expert in one field could be somebody who is suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect in another field. I know I do. Definitely. At one point, I thought I knew something about poor people and what they might do. And I'm wrong about that. That was very foolish of me. At one point, I thought I knew something about women, and the difficulties that they face in life. And I was wrong. I didn't really stop to think and realize and understand, whoa, yeah, you are pro-woman, but maybe not as much as you should be, because you're thinking that this group of women that you have in your head is women, when it's not. So I'm thinking that that might be our existential threat. Whenever something that's serious happens, we have to actually wade through all the people who don't know what they're talking about and find legitimate experts who know what they're talking about. Unfortunately, that takes effort, and most people don't make the effort to find legitimate voices of people saying things that really make sense. So when it comes to vote or voting for a representative or in a referendum, I would say, it wasn't something that was glaring, but I would say it probably wasn't a good thing for the UK to leave the European Union. And that's something else that I want to get into at another point, but I feel like we might be doomed because of this Dunning-Kruger effect and the fact that so many loud, ignorant voices are likely to be heard more than the experts, whatever field that we pick. So, but anyway, guys, wish me luck. So you can like or unlike, you can comment, subscribe, and or share. And really, if you don't want to do anything, you don't have to. But I prefer if you did. Thank you. Peace.